Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast News on Star 103.5 FM with me, Nurein Abass. And coming up this morning, Asantehene Otumfuo Saito to the second urges citizens to be vigilant to safeguard the democratic process of the country as it prepares for this year's general election. Also coming up, police arrest a Sutifi South MP Alhadi Collins Dauda over disturbances that occurred at Kukum in the Ahafu region in relation to the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. And later in the bulletin, minority in parliament call on government to grant tax waiver and incentive to sector players in book printing and import, following revelation that the sector will fold up in 6 months. Details of these stories are coming up shortly, but first, let's remind you of our affiliate stations.
Star News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Star 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Star 103.5 FM. Star News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Many thanks to you for choosing Star News. Let's begin this morning. The Asantehene Otumfuo Saito II has called on the public to be vigilant to safeguard the democratic process as the country prepares for this year's general election. Speaking at the climax of his 25th anniversary of enshrinement or installment as the 16th occupant of the Golden Stool, the Asantehene emphasized the importance of maintaining a stable environment that enables citizens to make informed decisions to enhance development.
This year is another election year. Our political leaders are already on the campaign trail, and there's yet many campaigning ahead. After all our past experiences, I remain sanguine that our democracy is safe. Nonetheless, we need to remind ourselves that we cannot take things for granted, and we must be alert to avoid anything that has the potential to derail the electoral process. People need the right environment in which they can make informed choices in the interest of the nation. May we forever drink from the fountain of peace, and may our efforts in the years ahead be crowned with the grace of the living God and the prosperity that flows from our tireless effort.
You had Otumfuo Saito II, the Asantehene. Away from that, the Ghana Police Service has arrested the Member of Parliament for Esutifi South, Alhadi Collins Dauda, for his alleged involvement in the disturbances which occurred at Kukum in the Ahafu region during the ongoing limited voter registration exercise over the weekend. According to the police, one person sustained injury and is currently receiving treatment at hospital. Meanwhile, 3 police personnel have been with immediate effect over their failure to perform their duty professionally in the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. In a brief statement, the police explained that the affected policemen are Inspector Michael Addo, Eric Boache, and Michael John, all constables. According to authorities, they failed to perform in a proper manner a duty imposed on them as officers in charge of security at the Electoral Commission office at Edujama in the Ashanti region when some persons attempted to disrupt the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. According to police, the interdicted personnel will be taken through the due disciplinary process of the police service. Let's bring you more stories this morning because the minority in parliament is calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, grant tax waiver and incentive to sector players in book printing and importation following a revelation that the sector might fold up in 6 months. The Ghana National Association of Authors and Publishers says the sector will collapse if government fails to remove 27% tax on book import by September this year. The association says it has been forced to increase prices by 60% because of high import levies. But speaking to Star News on this development, ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament and MP for Akachi North, Peter Notukotwe, said government must resource local manufacturers.
So if government wants to resource these companies, it's going to affect them positively. And I think if the policy is that let's resource the printing companies in Ghana or the publishers in Ghana so that they can do it at very good competitive prices for us. I think this high cost of textbooks will come down because for now they have borrowed money. Then after borrowing the money, they pay so much tax. And so they should also be given tax relief because they will pay duty at the port, so many taxes. Then they will come and pay other taxes after production. So in effect, it has not been a good thing for business for them. And they have complained to us several times.
Right.
I think they have a good case.
You had Peter Notukotwe, who is the MP for Akachi North and a ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament. Meanwhile, former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Charles Yao Ahetochega, has described the situation as worrying and unfortunate.
This is a very worrying situation. I mean, it only heightens the fact that we as a country have not made any arrangements to even think about ways to have a very localized arrangement for publishing books that our children need for studying, and that is very, very unfortunate. That it is important for us to begin to start thinking of what we have to do as a country in terms of providing the materials that are needed for our children's education. And that one is where we should think about. And I would say quickly that, again, you see, when you have a country that is very eager to adopt all means to be able to, hike up its revenue, then you make it very easy for people to want to import things, and so that you'll be making the money that you need. When we are able to think of very local things that are needed to get this whole system running, we probably may not be getting the amount of money we are getting from the publishers as is happening in this particular situation. So it's a whole political game, political economic game, which is not in the interest of children at all.
You had the former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Charles Chega. Let's bring you more stories this morning. The National Security Minister, Albert Kandapar, has emphasized the need for enhanced cooperation among security agencies in West Africa, warning the sub-region is at risk of becoming a hub for terrorist groups. Terror activities with operations profound in the Sahel regions have in recent times seeped through some sub-Saharan countries, raising alarm of its potential proliferation in the south. That Albert Kandapar has charged governments, warning no country is immune from terror attacks. He was speaking at the launch of the Support to Strengthen Capacities for Promoting Efficiency in the Implementation of the Accra Initiative in West Africa and the Sahel Project by Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center in collaboration with the government of Japan and the United Nations Development Program.
Recent attacks in the littoral West African states, Togo, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, have accentuated the long-held notion, the southward drift of terrorism from the Sahel to coastal West Africa. And it has become evident that no country within the West African region is completely immune to the terrorist onslaught. Because from their base in Mali, the terrorists can easily penetrate Senegal. They share borders. You can go to Gambia, you can go to Guinea, you can go to Sierra Leone. And again, from their base in Burkina Faso, as we have seen in recent times, they can enter Benin, and they have entered Benin. They can enter Togo, and they have done that. Yes, they can enter Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, and they have done that. What stops them from coming to Ghana, stops them from going to Liberia? In effect, the entire West African region risks becoming a theater of operation for the terrorist groups. And we should take this very seriously. And this, I believe, underscores the need for collective action anchored on enhanced cooperation among West African states.
You heard the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapar. Now, Parliament is expected to reconvene later this week following a request by the majority for a recall of MPs. The majority filed a motion for a recall within 7 days by triggering Article 112, Clause 3 of the 1992 Constitution, which requires signatures of at least 15% of all MPs to compel the Speaker to summon the House. Consequently, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babin, has served notice of a day sitting on Friday. Parliamentary correspondent Ibrahim Al Hassan has more in this report.
This is the precedent that is being set by His Excellency the President for all Ghanaians to follow. So any matter that comes before Parliament, any Ghanaian can issue a writ and follow it with an application for injunction. And that is enough to injunct Parliament from proceeding with the consideration of the business in the House. Honorable members, I now proceed to adjourn the House sine die. The House is according.
Given how proceedings in the last meeting of Parliament ended abruptly as a result of the cease and desist letter from Secretary to the President, Nana Santi-Bediatu, to the Clerk of Parliament, Cyril Linsia, over the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, such an emergency recall has constantly been on the minds of political watchers and even members of Parliament. The majority, according to its leader Alexander Kwame Afenyo-Markin, was compelled to trigger Article 112, Clause 3, which requires 15% of all members of Parliament to demand a recall after initial appeals for the Speaker to reconvene the House to attend to some urgent outstanding matters failed.
As far back as the 8th of April, I, on behalf of colleagues, sent a memo to Mr. Speaker. In that memo, my humble prayer to Mr. Speaker was for him to exercise discretion under the powers given him in Orders 53, 57, and 58. Unfortunately, my prayer was not successful. So we took the first major step. We are left with no option than to invoke our right under Article 112(3).
Aside the approval of tax exemptions for some 1D, 1F companies and approval of $150 million facility to tackle the flooding situation in Accra, one other major outstanding matter is the approval of 24 ministerial and deputy ministerial nominees. Deputy Minister Designate for Education and Kwadasu MP, Professor Kingsley Nyako, had told me the Speaker was simply playing politics with the matter, questioning the basis for his delay in recalling the House.
We have an assignment to perform, and that assignment is to help to develop this country. So I don't see any reason why we have been vetted, level the approval, and because of a letter sent from the presidency, the Speaker, is acting in this manner. We need to make progress. It's about Ghana. It's not about our individual egos or something. Let us put the nation first. Let us do the right. Let us move. In all honesty, you agree with me that the suit is not even about those who were vetted. It was not about us. The suit was challenging those who were reassigned. And I think there were 3 ministers of state and 1 deputy minister. Those who went to vetting. The suit doesn't even affect us. So what is the issue with the delay? I don't get it. It's all politics. But Ghana first. Let us fight for Ghana. Let us do the right thing and move this country forward.
Some minority MPs in my engagement with them had raised concerns about the timing of the request for the recall, given the ongoing limited registration exercise which has MPs as major stakeholders. Well, the Speaker has, per the details of the Constitution, recalled the House. But was this done within the 7-day stipulated period as spelled out by Article 112, Clause 3? With MPP's victory in the just ended Ejoso by-election, the party has restored its one-member lead in the House, which once again stands at 138-137. But Majority Leader Alexander Kwame Afenyo-Markin argues all MPs need not be physically present in the chamber to transact business per the new standing orders.
Under Order 52, Parliament has provided for virtual sitting of Parliament. So we don't need members to be physically present in the jurisdiction. Technology has allowed us to join meetings by Zoom. So Mr. Speaker need not to be physically present in the jurisdiction to convene. We don't need to have all our 138 physically present in the chamber.
Well, we await the verdict of the Speaker on this come Friday when the House reconvenes.
And that brings us to the end of the Star Breakfast News this morning. When you log on to starfm.com.gh, you'll find more news updates there. Next on your radio is Speak Right and then the Morning Star with Francis Saban. Do have a lovely day.